Thank you for tuning in to our second series of Breadcrumbs podcast with me, your host, Barbara Smith. Gather around with your little ones because it's kids' story time.
Hello, boys and girls, moms and dads, and those listening around the world. I just wanted to come and tell you a story from the Bible. I wanted to let you know that dreaming dreams is a good thing. Don't ever let anyone stop you from having big dreams and high hopes, because God can bring them to pass and God can use you. Even though you may be small now, you will grow up and God will bring those dreams to pass. That's what happened to a boy named Joseph. Now, Joseph had 11 brothers, so he was from a very big family. I don't know if there are a lot of families that are that big these days. There might be a few left. I know my dad's family had 13 children, and my mom's family had 8 children. My husband and I only have 4 girls. So the families have gotten a little smaller over the years. But everybody pitches in when you're in the family. Everybody does chores. Everybody works. And that's what happened with Joseph's family. They were shepherds. They went out in the field. They watched the sheep. They did what their father Jacob asked them to do. And Joseph, being the second youngest, he had a younger brother named Benjamin. He did that as well. And often he was called upon to do errands, take food out to his brothers. His brothers were all older than him except for Benjamin. And so he was considered just a kid. You don't know what you're talking about all the time. You're still growing. What do they call it? You're green behind the ears. And I don't know if you've heard that expression. That just means that you're still little and you're still growing. You don't know much yet. But that didn't stop Joseph. He was telling them all about the dreams that God had given him. And he told his mom and dad and all of his brothers that he had had a dream. There were 11 sheaves of corn, big old stacks of corn, and then 2 bigger ones. And they all bowed down to his sheath of corn. And he was stating that his mom and dad and his brothers, his whole family would someday bow down to him. They did not like that very much. Probably Jacob said, "Now mind your business, Joseph. Don't be talking that way. Try not to be so proud. Try to be a little more humble." And he ran off and did his thing. Again, another time he came and he said, "I had another dream." And he told them all, "I saw the sun and the moon and all the stars bowing down before me." He didn't understand these dreams, but he felt like they were from God and he felt like they were going to come true. But his dad didn't smack him on the hand, but told him, "You need to stop this. Why do you think that we're all going to bow down to you? What makes you think that you are greater than we are?" And sent him on his way. "Go play. You're just young. Go watch the sheep. Go out and get your chores done." And Joseph did. Well, his brothers began to hate him because his dad, Jacob, loved him so much. And if you've heard the story about Joseph and the coat of many colors, it was because his dad had made him a special coat of many colors, beautiful, and did not make a coat of many colors for the other brothers. And they became jealous. And they said, "We've got to get rid of this Joseph. He's nothing but trouble. What can we do?" And he came out to bring them some food one day, and they said, "Let's put him in this big old pit." And there was this big old huge pit in the ground, and they threw him in the pit and left him. Well, they left and went on their way, went back home, and they began to discuss it, and they thought, well, we don't want to just leave him in the pit. He may get eaten by a lion, or he might starve to death, or what are we going to do with him? And some of them said, "Let's just put him to death. Let's just kill him because, he's a nuisance and he thinks he's better than we are." and they decided, no, we're not going to do that. Why don't we go ahead, let him live, and we'll sell him. We'll sell him to some of the passers-by, some of the merchants, some of the people that are salespeople that are taking their food and clothes and stuff to the market. We'll sell him. By the time they got back, he had been taken by a group of salespeople themselves, and he was gone. They had taken his coat of many colors off of him. They hated him so much. They hated the coat so much. And they had killed a lion, and they had put the blood all over the coat to make it look like he had been taken by a wild beast. And they brought that coat to their dad, Jacob, and they presented the coat. And they said, look, we found the coat of Joseph, but Joseph has been taken and eaten by a wild animal. He is gone. The Bible says that Jacob was very, very, very grieved in his heart. His heart hurt so much he cried and cried because that was his son Joseph. And even though he scolded Joseph sometimes because Joseph was having these dreams and he told him, why do you think you're greater than us? He still loved his son Joseph very, very much. And of course, sometimes when we're older kids, we think that the younger ones are the favorite. They may not really be the favorite. When you were a baby, you were probably the favorite too, and your mom and dad took special care of you because you were younger. And that's what's happening here. The older boys got jealous, but they had forgotten how that Jacob had treated them special as well when they were little. So Jacob was very heartbroken, and he felt that his son was gone forever. Joseph was not gone forever. Joseph was taken and sold into the house of Potiphar. And though during his time in the house of Potiphar it was very, very hard, he was just a young teenager. Potiphar's wife was mean. She told lies about him. And even though all of this happened, he became Potiphar's helper. When his wife, Potiphar's wife, had lied about him, he got put into jail. His life was very hard when he got sold to these strange people. He got put into jail. While he was in jail, the wine bearer and the baker were put into prison, and they began to have dreams, and they said, how can we know what these dreams mean? And someone said, Joseph knows how to tell what dreams mean. They took them to Joseph, and Joseph said, well, the wine bearer's dream means that in 3 days he's going to be put back in the Pharaoh's court and he's going to be serving wine again. The baker's dream means that in 3 days he's going to be put to death because he did something very, very bad. And that is what happened. In 3 days, the wine bearer was taken back to the Pharaoh's palace, continued his job, but the baker was put to death. He told the wine bearer, when you come back to the Pharaoh and you start to serve him wine again, let him know that I'm down in the prison and that I can tell dreams and that I have been left because of somebody lying about me. But the wine bearer did not remember him, and he stayed in jail. The Bible says that God still blessed him in jail, and everybody respected him. He was getting older and he was getting wiser. And one day the Pharaoh himself had a dream. He said, how can I know what my dreams mean? The wine bearer said, there was a man in prison named Joseph, and he told me the meaning of my dream, and the baker, and it came to pass. And he said, bring him to me. So Joseph was brought to the Pharaoh and told him what his dreams meant. His dreams meant that there was going to be famine in the land. First, there was going to be 7 years of plenty, all kinds of crops, wheat and barley and plenty to eat for 7 years, and then 7 years of nothing, no rain, drought, famine. And so Joseph said, I think that in the years of plenty, you should save up the barley and the wheat for the 7 years without, so that you'll have enough food and people will not die. And the Pharaoh was so glad and so delighted to hear Joseph's wise remarks that he said, I will put you second in command to me, and you will be the one that will organize all of this. And he did. He organized all of that. And when the 7 years of famine came, everybody in the land all spread around the area on the sides of the north and the south and the east and the west of Egypt were hungry. They had no rain. It was famine. Only Egypt had food. Jacob, back home, do you remember who Jacob was? Joseph's father. He was at home and he said, we're going to have to go to Egypt and get food. And the end of the story for today is, do you know what happened when they got to Egypt? They got to Egypt and they did not recognize Joseph. He was a grown man. He probably looked like an Egyptian. And they bowed down before him and said, Sir, we have come to buy food. We need food. Please sell us food. Do you remember the dream that Joseph had when he was just a young boy, a teenager? Was that they would all bow down to him. Eventually, he told them who he was, and we might go into the rest of the story later. But if you see how he dreamed in the beginning of the story and how God brought it to pass, there were a lot of years in between there. You cannot get discouraged. If you have a big old dream of something you want to do, somewhere you want to go, something you want to get, don't lose hope. It may not happen immediately, may not happen right now, but God can bring it to pass. God can give you the desires of your heart. God can help you see your dreams fulfilled and allow you to follow in His footsteps, in His will, and bless you abundantly. So don't let people discourage you. Keep dreaming and keep being patient and waiting on the Lord, and He will bring your dreams to pass and make them come true. I hope you enjoyed the story about Joseph. We might hear more about him later. But until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for stopping by. That's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Until next time, bye-bye.